Hi there, Cthulhu Wars fans. I am often asked at conventions, which is my favorite great old one? Well, I always answer the same way. This is the guy whose picture hangs on my living room wall. This is an original oil painting by the great Tom Sullivan. I think this answers that question. So let's talk about Great Cthulhu today. Though let me make this clear. Though Cthulhu has a special place in my heart, I love all the factions in Cthulhu Wars the same. Let's talk about the Great Cthulhu faction. First, his setup. He sets up in the South Pacific at Relia, just like you'd expect with his 6 cultists. Now his starting area is rather more relevant to what he does than other players because the South Pacific, this starting area, is the only place you can summon Cthulhu. So keep that in mind. Of course, if you're playing on a different map, the starting area would be somewhere else, but still, his starting area is where you got to summon Cthulhu. So, we're not going to talk about his special ability right now because it's relevant to summoning Cthulhu. He has only 15 units, one of the fewest in the game. There are the 6 cultists that everyone gets. He has 4 deep ones, frog-like little guys there on quadrupeds. He has 2 Shoggoths, his intermediate monster. These cost 2, have a combat of 2. Deep ones cost 1 and have a combat of 1. Then he has 2 Starspawn, which cost 3 and have a combat of 3. If you've been paying attention during these little descriptions, you may notice that Cthulhu has a little more combat per cost than the other factions. That's how Cthulhu is. He is special in that way. Now, then we have Great Cthulhu himself. Now, Cthulhu costs 10 to summon, as warrants a powerful great old one like him. He must be summoned in the South Pacific. When you summon him, his faction special ability comes into play. The first thing is that when he's summoned, you also get a Elder Sign. You get an Elder Sign each time you summon any great old one as the Cthulhu faction. Now, of course, in the core game, you can only summon one great old one as Cthulhu, but each time you summon him, you get an Elder Sign. Next, the first time you summon him, he costs 10 power, but each subsequent time, he only costs 4, so he's very inexpensive to get back. Now what this means is that you can, unlike other great old ones, you can fairly safely send him into combat by himself. You don't really care that much if he gets killed, because if he's killed, he just reforms, paying 4 power, and hey, you got an Elder Sign for it. So it was kind of a bargain. You got the harm he inflicted, plus an Elder Sign, plus Cthulhu's back in play, able to do things. Now, of course, he's got to reappear back in the South Pacific again, so you got to figure out some way of getting him out to attack your enemies, but that's not as hard as it seems, so we'll get into that in a minute. Okay, oh, his special ability. Look down here. It's called Devour, and what it means is that just before combat, the enemy has to pick one of the units that's fighting Cthulhu, and he is devoured. In other words, say that Cthulhu was declaring combat against this elder thing and this cultist. He would say, okay, I'm devouring someone. Then the defending player could choose, well, I guess you're devouring the cultist. He's cheaper, so you might pick him. Or you might want to pick the elder thing because he's not a cultist. I don't know. Usually you pick the cheapest unit, right? And that's just killed. That's before you roll any dice. That cultist doesn't get to roll any dice if he had dice to roll. And it's just all over. If Cthulhu can go into a place where it only has one enemy unit, like an expensive elder thing, and then declare combat, before combat, he just devours the elder thing and it goes off the map. And all is well. Actually, the elder thing may have been a poor choice for this example, but you get the idea. And we'll get into that if we ever talk about elder things. Here, let's use a Byaki instead. Here we go. There's a mighty 2-point Byaki. Cthulhu devours him. He goes away. Yay. So that devour means that in addition to the 6 dice Cthulhu roll, you get this extra auto kill, and the guy that got killed doesn't get to roll dice. It's very useful. Okay, now here's our spellbook requirements. Cthulhu, according to the doctrines, is waiting until the stars are right before he wakes up again. So his spellbooks reflect this. He gets his first spellbook in the very first Doom phase. He doesn't do anything for it. He just waits there and it comes around. Now the first Doom phase is at the start of the second turn. So the whole first turn he doesn't have that spellbook, but then it just falls into his hands. He also has another spellbook which he gets when he has 5 spell books that comes on the following Doom phase. So when he has all 5 of his other spell books, then the following Doom phase, he gets that last spell book. Sometimes it's a little frustrating to Cthulhu players because they've got 5 spell books and they can't get the 6th. They have to wait till the end of the turn before it comes. But that's reflects Cthulhu having to wait because the stars aren't right. On the other hand, he gets it for doing nothing, so that kind of balances. Other spell books. Probably the easiest one to get early in the game is you control 3 gates in ocean areas, or 4 gates exist in ocean areas. If it gates, it's really hard to get those 3 gates that you control. You can wait until there happen to be 4 gates and then you can get it. But usually the 3 gates is what you're trying to do. So early on as Cthulhu, you want to set up gates in ocean areas. Okay, he gets a spellbook when he kills or devours an enemy unit in battle. It's easiest to get with Cthulhu because you get the devour every time you fight, and there's your kill. You also get a spellbook when you kill or devour 2 enemy units in combat. So if you're in combat against someone, and say with Cthulhu again, he devours 1 unit, then when you roll your 6 dice for Cthulhu, if you happen to score a kill, hey, that's 2 kills, and you can get that spellbook. If you don't have either of these spellbooks yet, and you get 2 kills, you should get the spellbook for 2 kills, not the spellbook for 1 kill, because otherwise you have to do the 2 kills later on. If you do manage to get 3 kills in a single combat, then you can get both these spellbooks at once. That happens about a 1/6 of the time, usually when someone's delayed fighting until he has a lot of units. So, that's how it goes. His final spellbook is, as always, summon your Great Old One, in this case Cthulhu. He gives you a spellbook. Oh, one more mention. The final spellbook you get, the one after you get 5 spellbooks that falls into your hand, when you receive this spellbook, you also get an Elder Sign as a little extra reward. Kind of a lagniappe, if you will. So, Cthulhu, that's how he gets his spellbooks. They're pretty easy to get. You are forced to go into combat in the early to mid game in order to get those kills. If you're Cthulhu, you should be fighting a lot anyway, because you are a slugger, and your spellbooks show this. So first, let's talk about dreams. Okay, the dreams spellbook works like this. If you look at the map. So here's an enemy cultist sitting by himself on anywhere you want. It's an action. You spend 3 power, and that cultist is removed and replaced with one of your own. Okay?
From your pool.
From your pool. It doesn't, not one from the map, but from off the map on your pool. Now, there's limitations to it. The defender picks who it is. So, for example, if the enemy had 2 cultists in the same area, and you used dreams, he'd pick who got replaced, and I guarantee you he'd pick this guy. So then you spent 3 power to place a cultist in an area where it's not quite as good. Another thing that they can do is if they have a Great Old One in the area with the cultist, sure, you can replace the cultist there, sitting on the gate even, then he has a monster right there to capture you. So, the best use for this is if the enemy has a cultist by himself on a gate, you can replace him and get that gate. One of the good things about this, though, even if you never get to use dreams, is because they're afraid you're going to do this, they will generally double up their cultists, or they'll have the cultist have to have a minder, a monster to guard them. And so this is like a perpetual tax they're paying on their movements. They can't ever have a cultist go alone somewhere and have a gate because of the risk that you'll dream him away. Now, if the other player is out of power, it can be even useful to dream someone if he has a monster, because you'll dream him away, and of course, the guy on his turn might capture you, on the next turn, because he's out of power this turn, might capture your cultist, but in the meantime, next turn's gather power, you get 3 power for the gate plus the cultist. That may give you more power than him, so you go earlier anyway, so before he captures you, you can summon a monster, or you can use Devolve, which we'll get into. Cthulhu is a lot about cultist management, and we'll talk about that with the next spellbook, which is Devolve. Okay, the way Devolve works is, at any time, this is not an action, at any time after anyone takes an action, you can take one of your cultists, can you see these?
Yep. And
turn it into a deep one for free. Now, that doesn't really save you money, because a deep one costs 1, and so does a cultist, but it gives you a cultist in your pool. So, for example, say you want to devolve some guy, and all your cultists are on the map. Foolishly, White has put a person here alone. Well, you simply devolve one of your cultists. Now look, you have a cultist. Your action now is dreams, you dream him away, and presto, you did it. Also, another way you can use it, say you've got your cultist here, at the start of the turn, to dream away, the enemy has a big monster about ready to wreak vengeance on you for stealing his gate. Well, just before his action, for free, you devolve this cultist into a deep one. Look, now he can't be captured. Of course, the gate's open, but your cultist wasn't gone, and in fact, you have a cultist in your pool now. You can, if he doesn't get a cultist there, you can summon your cultist there with a monster to guard him, and it's really, really handy. So the conversion of cultists to deep ones, and the conversion of enemy cultists to cultists, all of that plays together to a lot of interesting combinations in how the game works. Okay, next monster, we have the mighty Shoggoth, because he has the spellbook of Absorb. If there's a Shoggoth at a battle, he can absorb one or more friendly units. Typically you're going to use deep ones or cultists for this, but you don't have to. And each unit you absorb adds 3 dice to what he rolls. So for example, if I was here trying to fight white accompanied by an elder thing, I could absorb, well, I roll 2 dice for the Shoggoth. I think I'll absorb these 2 deep ones. Of course, I lose their dice, they would have contributed, but I add 6 more dice to my Shoggoth. Now it rolls 8 dice against the defender's 2 dice, which is pretty fearsome. I've seen a Shoggoth roll as many as 14 dice when the player that had the Shoggoth sacrificed 4 units to it to get a huge, powerful Shoggoth. So Shoggoth can do a lot of damage. Also, because of the way that Cthulhu works his cultist management, often you get low on deep ones because you want it, because, you know, you've been turning cultists into deep ones, and you want to get deep ones back in your pool for more devolves. The Shoggoth is an easy way to do that. Just absorb a deep one into your Shoggoth, add 3 dice, it's all good. Okay. The Shoggoth's Absorb is a really good way to give you offensive oomph if you need it. Next, we have the Starspawn. Now, the way the Starspawn works is he has the spellbook of Regenerate. What this does is, when you're taking hits in combat, the Starspawn can take 2 hits. For example, he can get a hit, you know, he can take a pain, or he can take a kill, or he can take a pain and a kill, or he can take 2 pains, or he can take 2 kills. On any combination of hits he takes except for 2 kills, he is pained. So if you inflict 1 kill on him, he's pained. If you inflict a kill and a pain on him, he's pained. If you inflict 2 kills on him, he does die. But he's a lot harder to kill. So for example, if we're fighting here, okay, and say this elder thing manages to roll boxcars for 2 kills, what you could do is you could kill your cultist for 1 kill, and then take 1 kill on the Starspawn, and it's just a pain, so he's pained out of the area. So it's not that big a deal. Or, if more likely, he rolled a kill and a pain or 2 pains, you can take them both on the Starspawn, right, or whatever combination you want, so you can absorb those extra kills. As an example of how fearsome this can be, if you have Cthulhu accompanied by say 2 Starspawn, which is not that hard to do, then the Starspawn, you have to receive 3 kills before any of your guys start to die. Because if you take 2 kills, well, 1 kill goes here, 1 kill goes here, and they aren't dead, they're just pained. The 3rd kill, you're going to have to pick someone to die. But that's quite a bit of armor, plus, of course, you roll 12 dice in combat, plus you get his auto devour. It's highly feared. Now, the Starspawn basically act as a defensive unit because they can absorb those extra hits. If you need more combat oomph, you throw in a Shoggoth and a couple of cultists and deep ones, and then the Shoggoth can absorb them and roll a billion dice. And so it depends. If you want to kill them, use a Shoggoth. If you're afraid of being killed, you use Starspawn. If you want to mix it up, you can mix it up. Okay, Cthulhu has 2 special abilities. One is called Yaha and Thlay. As long as Cthulhu is on the map, during Gather Power, each enemy gate in the ocean gives you 1 power. So here, this would give you 1 power. This has 2 effects. First, enemy players are less likely to try to capture your gates in the ocean because they know they'll be giving you a power for them anyway. And second, when you see an enemy gate in the ocean, it's not that big a deal to you because, hey, you get 1 power for it anyway, so you can go attack them on land or something. Finally, Cthulhu's most feared ability, Submerge. To use this ability, you have to be in an ocean area. Often use it when you're in the South Pacific. So here in the South Pacific, you got a Shoggoth along with you, you know, maybe there's a deep one, maybe not. So you decide so the way Submerge works is, you must start in an ocean area. You pay 1 power. And you take Cthulhu and any or all units in the area off with you. So for example, you could take, what?
Your units.
Your own units, not enemy units. So you take the Shoggoth and say you can take a couple of cultists. Leave the rest there. They all go on your faction sheet here. Then, on a later action, you pay 1 power, and they arise from the sea on any area. It doesn't have to be an ocean area. So for instance, I could rise from the sea here in West Africa where the enemy have a base. Then if I wanted, I could devolve this cultist into a deep one. So it's a terrifying attack by Cthulhu, and when Cthulhu's on your card waiting to appear, everyone looks around over the shoulder very nervously because they're sad that's going to happen. Now note that Cthulhu can't submerge again once on land, so after the combat he's going to have to want to move into the ocean. On the other hand, often you're helped in doing this by the fact that during the combat you get pain results, so pain yourself into the ocean, right? And you're good to go for the next attack. Just submerge and strike anywhere again. This lets Cthulhu reach clear across the board and wipe out enemies anywhere. It makes him fear. The fact that Cthulhu is not afraid of dying because he's so cheap to get back and you get an Elder Sign means that he can act pretty much as a bully. He doesn't roll as many dice as other Great Old Ones, only 6. But the extra kill and the fact that he's constantly there in your face beating you up is always there. And of course your monsters have terrific abilities for combat. So that's Life as Cthulhu. Thank you.